Hi, welcome to Diederich Studio. Elizabeth and I are going to show you how to use a foam roller today. So first thing we're going to start with is her neck. And she's just going to take her head, push into it a little bit, bring her chin down a little, and then roll back and forth, and a little bit up and down. This works right in the back here. It works all these small little muscle groups, the suboccipitals. They can get very sore, they can cause headaches. So she's just going to go back and forth a few times. If she finds some place that's very tender, she's going to sit on that for a little while and just push into it. You want to get blood flow. That's the whole idea behind this, is to get blood flow. Now she's going to take the roller and she's going to make it long ways, just like this. And she's going to place the base of her head right here. And she's now going to roll back and forth. You notice the roller's now going to move. This is a little bit more focused, so it's a little bit harder on pushing on those muscles. You want to get right at the base of the skull, right there, and just pushing down back and forth. Yeah. And then see what she's doing? She found a place that's a little bit tender, so what she's doing is she's just pushing into it, and she's holding it, and then a little bit of movement. The movement, what it does is it pushes the muscle in, and it starts to get blood flow going back into a muscle that's very tight. Sometimes you'll get referrals up into your head, like a headache. So that's a very common feeling on this. Good. If you don't find anything, any problem, move on. You don't need to spend a bunch of time on some place that's not going to bother you. Now she's going to roll onto her back. And you start up high. For people who have never done this before, as Elizabeth goes back, go ahead and push back on. As she comes down, she's fine. As she starts to push back, right about there, she really has to pull those abs in tight, otherwise she wants to bend over backwards. You don't want to bend over backwards. You want to keep into what's called spinal flexion. So she's going to pull in, and she's just going to pull, and she can go all the way down to that low back. This opens the joints up. So a lot of times you get stuck in joints. They're not moving separately, independently. And what this does is it will allow them to release and work independently. Good. Now she's going to hold right by her arm, and she's now going to roll that way right under the armpit. She's now going to start working rotator cuff muscle, the teres minor, a little bit lower down. She'll get down to the teres major. And again, these can be very, very, very sensitive, especially for people who swim, who surf, who do any type of movement that arm is being used in that manner of motion. So you see she's going back and forth and a little bit up and down. You want to work the muscle in a lot of different directions. Looking for tender areas, and again, that's the area you really want to focus on. Good. And now she's going to go and now work a little farther by rolling, and she's going to get her pec muscle. So she's going to go all the way forward and hit the corner right in here. And this can get really tender. See? Yeah. Yep. Good. And now she's going to go to the tricep. So right on the back of the arm, she's going to take her arm like this, and she's going to roll up and down right on the back of the arm here. And again, this also can get very, very tender. Good. And now the rear delt. She's going to take her hand, and she's going to pull her arm like this and support it with this hand, and just take your hand on the elbow and pull across, and then roll back and forth. And even a little more forward. Again, you're really trying to get, oh yeah, you're really trying to get all of the muscle. These can be really, really tender. Be sure you breathe. Our tendency when we're doing these rolling exercises is to hold your breath. That's the last thing you want to do, because you want to get oxygenation. So you want to breathe nice and deep and relax into the stretch. We start to tighten up all the muscles. So when you really just relax into it, although it's tender, it's much more effective. Good. Now she's going to come and she's going to do the other side. So you'll see the back end of this here, what it looks like. Good. She's just going to roll up and down. You can see where that roller's at. A little back and forward. Good. Just going out. And now a little bit farther, she's going to roll up a little bit where she's starting to get that underneath that armpit a little bit more. Just play with this. We're showing you a specific way of doing this, but there you can mix it up. It's not going to matter how you do it. If you follow a format though, you're going to always do all of them, or all of the muscles, versus trying to remember which way to go. Now go into your tricep, back of the arm. Good. If you notice she's using this hand, she can control how much pressure she wants to push down on. So that's another important thing, because sometimes when you hit a really, really sensitive place, you're pushing too much. So always respect what you're doing. For people who have shoulder problems, realize that you got to be careful with the joints, you got to be careful with what you're doing with these. Any person who has an orthopedic problem or a medical problem, she's going to go on to the pec now, and we're going to get that rear delt. Osteoporosis, osteopenia, any kind of those issues with rolling up and down the spine, you make sure you get cleared by a doctor first. If you have had orthopedic problems, get it cleared. This is pretty benign. It's usually a really very safe thing to do, but better be safe. Good. Now she's going to work her rear delt. So she's going to pull the arm in and then just right up and down. Oh, I can feel that.
Oh.
Good. Just be thorough. Hit that whole area. Up and down, back and forth. Good. Now Elizabeth's going to place this on her glute. So she's going to put the roller right under the glute. Good. And she's going to lean across. Two ways of doing this. We're going to show you this way first. And see how she's doing little circles? So you want to cover the top of the hip and all the way back. If you lean a little more forward, you're going to get different directions, different muscles. You want to cover all of these muscles. That's the whole objective behind doing these things. To be a little more specific, if you take the leg that's on the bottom and cross it and then roll on it, now you're talking about a lot more pressure pushing on that area. Good. Roll a little farther there. There. Good. So right there, she's getting some places. She's getting more toward the glute medius and the minimus. Some of these may fire down your leg. That's okay. That's a referral from the muscle. The muscle has lacking blood supply. It needs the blood. That's why it's doing that. That's why this sensitivity. It's very tight. Good. She's now going to come on and do the opposite side. First just rolling onto it. Good. Now she's going to take this left leg and bring it up. And again, it's a lot more specific. You can see from the camera angle now how she's sitting right on that side of that glute. You want to go to the top of the pelvis so you're coming right up to here. And that's where things can get really, really sensitive. Good. Now a little bit more towards me. This is the fun stuff. Giving me that dirty look. Good. Okay, now we're going to go to the hamstrings. So come on down here. Good. She's just going to roll up and down. You want to go to just above the knee. To right up the top. all the way up the leg to right about there. Now you're covering all of that hamstring. Now you can also, because the hamstrings have different parts to it, if she rolls the legs outward, she's going to get the outer hamstrings. And then she can also go inward to get the inner hamstrings. So it's again covering all of these different areas. If she needs more weight, she can cross one leg right over the top of the other. Now you've added a lot more weight to the movement. Also another important point is if you find a really sensitive place, move slow. If you try to go up and down on it fast, it's going to take those sensory nerves and really fire them off. And you're going to really feel a lot more discomfort with that. Good. Now she's going to go to the calf muscles. So same movement. You can just push back and forth like that. You can come up on your arms if you want for more weight. And it's the same thing with the calf muscles. Toes in, inner calf muscles, your gastroc muscle from the head in there. Toes out, it's going to cover the other one. So you can bend the knees like this. Again, you want to go from the Achilles tendon to the bottom of the knee and look for little treasures. Once again, she can cross one leg over the other and add a lot more weight to this. Whoa. Yeah. See, she wasn't feeling it as much with the other exercise. She puts one over the other and now she really feels it. Yeah, okay. She goes, okay. Good. All right, now she's going to roll over and she's going to roll right here on her shins. And just up and down. You runners, sometimes people with shin splints, this is a good exercise to do. This is about prevention. People come to me all the time, and athletes, regular people that are doing sports, and they have a lot of pain in muscles. And if people were doing this more often, they wouldn't be seeing me as often. So this is about self-care, preventing these things from taking place. I've got a lot of my athletes, and they're using these rollers all the time, and it's really working for them very well. They're not getting a lot of muscle soreness like they used to, and it prevents the injuries because you find the muscles that are really tight. Elizabeth's going to do her quadriceps now, so she's going to roll up and down, and she can do the same thing with the legs inward and the legs outward. Yeah. It's amazing how you change the position just a little bit and it becomes extremely sensitive. Now we're going to do one of our favorites. This is for runners, the IT band. She's going to roll right here on the side of this leg, so it's this one down. This can be excruciating. If it's super sensitive, roll up and down for a few times, get off of it, go to the other side, go back to it. If you do this often, you won't have the sensitivity. When we neglect it, that's when these things load up. Good. Now she's going to come back onto the other side. All the way from the knee, right above the knee, all the way up to here on the hip. So she's going to roll all the way down there. Good. How you doing? Not too bad with her on this. Good. Now we're going to do the adductors. So the adductors, she's going to put her inner thigh right on top of this, straighten out this leg, and bring this leg behind me. And she's going to roll up and down. Where this gets extremely sensitive is down by the knee, but it can be up as high as all the way up at the hip. So you want to make sure that you're going all the way up the top of the hip right here. Good. Hear her breathing. That's really good. And now she's going to go to the other side. She'll straighten this leg out and then just right up and down. You want to get all the way up to the top. So she's just going to push her body forward. Good. And you can just go ahead and come out. And that finishes the roller program.